Hello everybody, we are Friday Live. It's June 1st and this is our June 2018 installment of Marcodi Live Friday. And we're going to have a little fun today. A lot of people have been asking me about the different body materials that we offer for the Harpejji and what they sound like and what they look like, etc. And I was looking around the shop yesterday and I noticed that we had, for the first time, we had a ready-to-ship birch, a ready-to-ship maple, and a ready-to-ship bamboo Harpejji G16, all freshly set up, all with fresh strings. And I thought, hey, this is a great time to do a tone comparison of the three body materials. Okay, and so what you're not seeing here, because this guy here is painted this pretty blue, is what the maple looks like. Anybody know where that sample is? Here it is. Okay, so even though this is painted blue, underneath the blue, it looks like this. This would be our 13-ply hard rock maple hiding behind the blue paint. Okay. So I put them here in order of how expensive the material is. And so that's why we have birch, which is the standard material. There was no upcharge for the birch material. Maple is an upgrade, and bamboo is a more expensive upgrade than maple. So let's just talk about the test. So I have 3 cables going into one amplifier. It's a Roland KC350. Why don't you guys pan your cameras over to the Roland. And you can see that this is what we've been using for 10 years to voice every single Harpejji. In fact, they don't make it anymore. They just recently switched over to, I think it's called a 450 or a 400, something like that. So we'll probably get the new amplifier at some point. But it has 4 input channels, and we are using 3 of those for these 3. We had to volume balance each of these so that they were about at the same volume, because we compensate for the volume of the pickups. When the pickups come to us, they have a little bit of a tolerance in terms of their sensitivity. And so with every setup job, we adjust each string individually so that you're getting a nice balanced output from left to right. And so as a result of that process, each instrument's going to have a slightly different output level. And so we've compensated for that already prior to this video by adjusting the different channel volumes on the Roland amplifier. Okay? So let's just get right to it. I'm going to just start off by playing a simple C chord on each of the 3. Again, birch, maple, bamboo. Here's the birch. Maple. Bamboo. Okay. Again, birch. Maple. Bamboo. So I already spent a little bit of time listening to these this morning, and my suspicions were correct. And that is that the darkest sound is here with the birch, the brightest sound is here with the bamboo, and the maple is somewhere in the middle. And that makes perfect sense when it comes to physics, because the birch is the lightest and the softest material. The bamboo is the hardest and the heaviest material, and the maple's in the middle. So when you have a harder and a heavier material, you're going to get a brighter tone, and vice versa. When you have the soft, lighter material, you're going to get a darker tone, and that's because the wood itself is going to absorb more of the harmonics of the string. And the way the Harpejji is, and the way an electric guitar is typically, is that your pickup, in our case the piezo pickup on the string, is sensing the vibration on the string, and not so much the vibration in the body. And what the body's doing is it's subtracting from the vibration that's on the string. Okay, so as the body resonates, it's taking away energy from the string vibration, and so the birch body is going to do that the most. That's the physics of it. So let's listen again. So I'm going to just kind of let this ring out a little bit longer this time. So in choosing a body material, obviously there's the look. They have different appearances. The birch has the thinnest plies. The maple has the thickest plies for those that are getting a natural instrument. Of course, the bamboo has this really awesome striking edge that a lot of people like. On the tone side, if you can't decide if you like a dark tone versus a bright tone, my suggestion would be to err on the side of the bright tone. And the reason I say that is because we have a tone knob on the instrument that can darken it up. So these are all, by the way, set in the brightest tone setting. So I'll demonstrate the tone knob here on the bamboo. Okay, so if you start with a brighter instrument, you can darken it up with the tone knob. See if I can get it to sound like the birch. Now they sound more similar. Right? Because I've darkened it up with the tone knob. Now I'll turn the tone full on. You can see there's more of those rich harmonics are coming out, and that gives it more of that sort of steel string acoustic sound. So you can make a bamboo harpeggi sound like a birch harpeggi if that's what you want with the tone knob, but you can't make a birch harpeggi sound like a bamboo. I mean, unless you use some outboard gear and perhaps, but then again, it's better to be cutting harmonics, because when you're cutting, you're also cutting the background hiss that's, on any electric instrument. If you had to boost the highs on a birch instrument with outboard gear, then you would also be sort of boosting the hiss and the background hiss, and that's not an ideal thing. But they all sound, you can tell they don't sound wildly different from each other. They're quite, they're quite in the ballpark of each other. But they do sound a little bit different, and I get asked this question so often that I figured it would be a great time to do this. And by the way, this was a question by Ted Wasilewski in one of our Friday live sessions. I think it was our first session. He asked about that, and so that's another reason why we decided to do this in a live video. Any questions from the field?
Well, there was a Peter that actually asked if you could play something. So maybe you can play a song in each of them, just to see if they can hear with their ears.
Same thing over here. Let's hear what the strumming sounds like. So you can definitely tell there's more sort of presence to the left in the middle. They sort of cut through the mix, and I would think that if you were recording the harpeggi with an ensemble, whether a band or something like that, and you want it to cut through the mix more, I think the bamboo would cut through the mix more than the birch. And the maple will be somewhere in the middle there. let's hear what the bass notes sound like. Here's the low note. Oh, that's a difference. Yeah, I wasn't familiar with that. You hear how strong that is on the bamboo? And that makes sense too, that it would have a little bit more body, a little bit more sustain, because it is, like I said, a heavier material. Yeah, that's a big difference. I've never actually done this before. This is the first time that I've done all three back to back, and wow, I'm becoming a believer in bamboo more than ever. I always thought it sounded really nice, and I always thought that the birch sounded the darkest, but it's kind of like when you think of, it's almost like, if you remember those old radio equalizers you had, where you turn up the lows and you turn up the highs, a graphic EQ. It's like the bamboo is kind of, it has more low lows and more high highs than either the maple or the birch. Now I will say that in doing this, I'm hearing that the maple sounds more similar to the bamboo than the birch. So it's in the middle, but it's sort of closer to the bamboo. Okay, well, I think...
There's a couple other questions.
Okay.
Samek asks, how would the birch sound if we push the tone up?
Well, the tone is all the way up on all of these models, so, but I'll tell you, I'll show you the range of the birch. So here's the brightest for the birch, and then as we move darker, so that's the darkest that the birch gets. That's pretty dark. Sounds, you know, sounds pretty funky when it gets real, like, sort of mid-rangey like that. So here's the range again. Here's the darkest, moving to brightest. I'll do it for the maple, starting with the brightest. And then let's do the same with the bamboo. And the tone knob is good for, it's also sort of a string compensator. As your strings get older, they will sound duller, just like on a guitar, same thing. And because of the dirt and grime on the string and corrosion will also dampen the harmonics. And so when I'm using a brand new Harpejji, I don't really have the tone full on. I typically, like for this instrument, I'd set it right about there, and I have quite a bit of throw on that knob. As the strings would get older, I would turn it up to compensate and to make it a little bit brighter. Yeah, all G16s, no matter what, have a tone knob and a master volume on them. What else? What do you think of this blue one? This is the first light blue, pale blue Harpejji that we've done before, and I thought it turned out pretty cool. It's got antique white trim on that, and we're actually doing another one, as it turns out, coincidentally, that is a sky blue, but it's a stain. And so that'll be coming soon. Of course, every time we do something custom, we post it on Facebook with a description of it, so that you can all look and see, what the possibilities are. And if you haven't done so yet, I would encourage you to go to Marcodi's Facebook page for Marcodi Musical Products. Check out the photos section, and then just scroll through, the timeline of photos, and you'll see hundreds of Harpejji photos that we've done. Every color that you can imagine, although we still have not done orange Harpejji. Chris, it keeps getting me on that.
One day we'll do it.
One day we'll do an orange one. But we've done just about every other color that you can imagine, and so I'd encourage you to look at that.
A couple more questions.
Okay.
So Jonathan says, bamboo really sings, but he noticed some distortion. Is that normal if pushed too hard?
Well, it could be the setup here with the iPhone. I'm not hearing distortion here, but it could be going through the live video stream. So I know that this is not the best way in the world to do a tone comparison. It would be better to do it all in high def on YouTube, and maybe one day we'll do that too.
Okay, so also another question. Terry asked, I would assume much more control is available utilizing external electronics, equalizers, and FX on PA or modeling amp, etc.
Yes. I mean, the sky is the limit. I mean, you can hook the Harpejji into guitar stomp boxes, mixing boards, keyboard amps, guitar amps, acoustic guitar amps, computer audio interfaces. I mean, there are lots of things that can be done, but of course, somebody experienced in studio recording told me once that, you want to, when it comes to making a recording, you want to first spend your money on the musician, right? You want to have the great singer, the great piano player, the great saxophone player. Okay, start off with the right musician, all right? Second, put your money on having good instruments. If you have a great piano in your studio, a great guitar, a great set of instruments, that's the second most important place to put your money. Everything else comes after that, right? Musicians and instruments. Let's start off with good sound. And so, it's funny, I've always sort of downplayed the differences between the bodies in the past because, it's not like there are huge differences. But I'm surprised that in doing this comparison for you today, I'm really sold on bamboo more than ever before. And but again, they're all great, and certainly very proud of how the birch sounds, even though it's the least expensive and perhaps the less rich in overtones.
There's another question. This is asked often, and that's, do you plan any MIDI implementation anytime soon?
We don't have onboard MIDI. I know people have had success using some outboard stuff. Those products are getting better and better as time goes on. The pitch to MIDI effects that are usually used for guitars, that's getting better, and we don't have any plans to put it on board right now, but it's funny. I played keyboards a long time before I did the Harpejji, and I wasn't after having thousands of sounds. In playing keyboards for years, it seemed like the more sounds you had on your keyboard, the less you could find one that was really, really good. I just want one good sound. So to me, if you want different sounds, I would play with guitar effects, because you can make, there are some really cool pedals out there today. Electro Harmonics makes some really cool ones. Metaverse makes some cool ones. Envelope generators and all kinds of stuff. So I would play with that if you want different sounds.
So Jonathan Scott had another question, and he's asking, as a keyboard player, has anyone tried playing a Harpejji from the side? Bass in to the left, high to the right, and can you try it?
Yeah, you can play it this way. I mean, you can play it from the side. I don't play it this way. But the reason I didn't design it to be played this way is because you get into a log jam with your fingers. When you play this way, each finger can have a string, right? When you're playing this way, you can have two fingers, trying to play the same string, and it's a major traffic jam, and so it's not very practical. You have to be really cognizant of where, which string each of your 10 fingers is playing, and I'm not. That's too confusing for me, and that's not how I wanted it to be. And so when you do it this way, you have no problem with that as long as your fingers, are not, like that. You will never have a log jam, and you will always have one string available for every finger.
That's all the questions that I see for now. Chris, do you see any other questions?
No, that's it.
Alexander, do you have anyone?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thanks for watching, and we will see you again in July. I believe it's July 6th is the first Friday in July. So thanks for watching, and we will see you then.